Came a knocking on my door one night around 6 o'clock. I had no invitation, nobody to jive. I opened up the door and to my surprise there was a bright and shining man with these piercing eyes. He said, "Sonny, you've been living your life with ease. Time to get back to work, son, get back on your feet." He left on that note without gloves or coat, even though the sky was gray. There came a knocking on my door, and I don't even know what for. After he left that night, I didn't think twice, didn't stress, didn't worry, didn't leave on a light note. I thought it was a dream, cause there was no explanation why a man would show up to give me that brief exhortation. Thinking about the words that this man had said, started searching for some meaning as they raced around my head. Then I stopped with the start at the thought of repentance, and this is where I started to learn my lesson. So many ways, started working, started earning, got a job, making minimum wage. Now I praise the Lord for the life that he gave, for the pain and all the suffering, for my soul that he saved. Now I'm walking around, talking aloud, preaching the town. I don't know if they'll listen, but I won't step down now. Whoa, there came a knocking on my door. Wake up call for my life to begin. Thought I was doing fine, turns out I was drowning. Knocking on my door. Oh, there came a knocking on my door. Knocking on my door. Knocking on my door.
Good morning, fellas, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, or whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to Fridays with the Fellas. So glad that you are all along. Good to have Lukewarm No More back, recovering Red Bullaholic. Hey, Dale. Hey, Alexander, Lewis. Good to have you all with us. So we are continuing on these Fridays to talk about taking care of your body, the one tool that you have to interact with the world, to do the job that King Jesus calls you to do. It matters. So kind of underlying these things we've been talking about the last few weeks, and I'm not sure, today may be the last one on this topic. We'll see. But the question I've been asking is, if I live to be 100, which I'm planning, I'm going for that. If I live to be 100, what will I wish I would do right now? You know what I mean? How some of you are in your 20s and 30s, some of you are my age, some of you are older than me. But still, if you're going to live 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 more years or more down the road, what are you going to wish you had done now to take care of your body so that the things you have to do then are easier and better, you're healthier and all that? So that's what we've been kind of talking about. And today we're going to talk about strength training and testosterone. And I'm going to start with describing my cure, the way I cured back pain, pretty much. So somewhere around almost 20 years ago now, certainly more than 15, I hurt my back. I did the proverbial. I picked up my young daughter and, oh man, I used to to my shame, I used to kind of mock guys who talked about being laid up for a week with back pain. You know, they couldn't get out of bed. And I, yeah, sure, whatever. That's well, it's like the Lord said, "Oh yeah, let me show you how that is." So I think that's what I did. I think that I picked her up, and oh man, it was like somebody shoved a knife through my back. And then I did probably the worst thing I could have done. I thought, okay, I'm a pastor, and all I got to do today is study. So I went into the office, and I thought, all I'm doing is sitting, so I can sit and study the Bible all day. And well, then the next day I woke up, and it was significantly worse. I called my friend who was a physical therapist, and he said, yeah, sitting puts more pressure on your back than anything else you do. That was the worst thing you could have done. Anyway, long story short there, I ended up flat on my back for about 5 days. The pain was so severe, I just couldn't get off the sofa. Slept on it. It was awful. And so I talked to him, I talked to some others, and basically what I was told was probably you're going to have to live with this the rest of your life. And it may be that if you keep going without taking certain precautions, you might end up having surgery. So for months, certainly weeks, but months, lots of pain, and it didn't take much to aggravate it. So it would start feeling a little bit better, and then the slightest thing would aggravate it. And then for years, I had somewhere between noticeable back pain to severe back pain, just depending on what I did. And as you can imagine, that got in the way of all kinds of things. And even when it got to a place where it was not too bad on a regular basis, we would drive home to St. Louis to see our family, and that's a 13-hour car ride. And, you know, we would drive it in one shot. We'd get back there, and for the next day or so, it hurt so bad. And then it would start getting a little bit better. And by the time it kind of felt good again, we'd drive back home. And then for another day or two when we got home, it would hurt. And that's just driving. And, you know, any lifting of anything, moving furniture around in the house, whatever, it hurt. And I decided I just didn't want surgery, so I thought I'm going to have to live with this. Well, fast forward a few years, in fact, till about, 5 years ago, I started really looking into a variety of things as far as health and so on. And somewhere along the line, I don't remember exactly the chain of events, but I'll just kind of cut to the chase here. I came across someone who was arguing that most of our pains are due to muscle atrophy, and that starting at around age 30 for men, our muscles start declining if we're not using them, if we're not building them. That coincides with some testosterone reduction too, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And that, back pain, other pain, so that can be helped with strength training. So another element is I think I inherited this from my dad, but I had shoulder pain in both shoulders. And I know exactly when I injured them both. One was in my early 20s playing tennis, and I heard it rip. And the other was playing touch football in my brother's backyard when I was in my mid-20s. And I sort of cheated as this young cousin, nephew. Somebody was running past me, and I reached out to slow him down a little bit, and I heard that one rip. And for years, just playing the guitar, resting up my shoulder on the guitar, it would just ache after about 15 minutes and so on. So and those healed up enough where throwing was almost out of the question, and I'd get that ache playing guitar, but just about everything else was okay. So I didn't worry about it. Again, I talked to my physical therapist friend, and he gave me some exercises that helped, but it was always kind of there. All right, so I started studying on the Bible, start studying on the body, and I had thought that lifting weights was probably the worst thing I could do for my back. But I came across a guy who suggested that's just the opposite. So what I started was a very simple workout program that I will tell you about before we get done here. And it involved just the major muscle groups, and it involved squats and deadlifts. two of the things that I assumed I could never do again because they would hurt my back. And I started off just just body weight squats and deadlifts, and then moved to just the bar, it's 45 pounds, and then slowly started adding weight to it. And I'll tell you what, after a few months, I distinctly remember one day realizing my nagging back pain is gone. I can't remember how many months. I want to say it was 3 or 4, but it's far enough back now, 4 or 5 years ago, that I don't remember exactly. But I remember distinctly realizing it doesn't hurt. And so I continued on and added weight, very concerned with form. I think this is true of any age, but certainly at my age, form matters, right? I'm not trying to break any personal records. I'm not entering any competitions. I'm just trying to get healthy and stop the pain. And I just kept adding weight and doing the program, and my back got better and better and better. And included in that was overhead presses, which hurt a little bit. The shoulder got sore, and included pull-ups as well. And then little by little, I realized my shoulder pain was getting better, such that now I have very mild back pain occasionally, usually after heavy lifting something. So, you can use proper form when you're in the weight room, but then if you're moving furniture, helping someone move boxes or whatever, it's just, you bend in certain ways, and I tweak it, and it flares up a little bit where it hurts. Not severe. It doesn't incapacitate me at all. It's just, it hurts a little bit. Same thing with shoulder. Sometimes my shoulder aches just a little bit, but I'm pretty much functional and hardly even notice the shoulder and back pain. One time I was doing deadlifts, and I had been doing it for probably 2 years at this point. And so this is just 2 or 3 years ago. And I was doing deadlifts, and I heard something snap in my back and felt a sharp pain. I went down on my back, and I just knew, oh man, even rolling over, I thought, it's going to hurt so bad. And now I've done it. I did it. It's not like I, again, was trying to be macho man and do lots of work. It just happened. I thought, ugh. Then I remembered a guy who said, when you hurt your back like that, you have a temptation to never want to deadlift and squat again, but you've got to start doing it immediately. Just do body squats, that kind of thing. So I thought, I'm going to try it, and it hurt so bad. But I got off the floor, and I did some air deadlifts and air squats, and it hurt. And then I iced it, and I went and laid on my back and did some more. Anyway, the long story short, it recovered pretty quickly. It hurt. It hurt for a couple of weeks, but it recovered pretty quickly. And within 2 weeks, I think I was back with some weight on the bar again, and it healed up. And that's the kind of thing where everybody tells you, uh-oh, yeah, if you heard that pop or whatever, you're going to have surgery, probably slipped a disc or whatever. Now, you need to do your own research. I'm not suggesting that you do what I did. I'm just saying this is my experience. And I will tell you, I feel physically better than I felt 15, 20 years ago. And it's due to the things we've been talking about: getting my sleep in order, nutrition habits, and strength training, lifting weights. I've done running, I've done some of the other stretching and that kind of thing, and those are all good, but more important than any of that is strength training as we get older. Let me catch a couple of your comments here, and then I'll give you some other thoughts. David says, my back pain went away after I started using kettlebells back in May. One of the added benefits, besides more energy, better sleep, etc., I love them and do at least 3 full body workouts per week. Yeah, exactly. Isn't that amazing? It seems like the cause of much of our back pain is weak muscles, and they need to be strengthened. Dale says, yep, I developed back pain in my early years. I walked crooked, and my rotator cuffs were made of paper. The chiro helped me to a point, but the barbell is a panacea. Yeah. So uh, I had been to some chiropractors and none of them could help. And I also, the third big pain I had was this pain in my neck. And I'm not talking about some individual. And I played golf pretty regularly, almost weekly for several years. And then I had to give it up because turning to the left like this was just a dagger in my neck. By the way, let me show you that again. Do you see how much range of motion I have now? So lining up every putt, really every shot, right? I had to turn my head to the left and it hurt. And about the fourth or fifth hole, it was so much that it was affecting my play. So I had to build an excuse for all my bad shots. And I went to chiropractors. I went to therapists. I went to deep tissue massage therapists, all this stuff, and nothing helped. I found a chiropractor who was different from all the rest. And he said, "Oh, I can help that," and and my wife had some issues too, and he gave us a money back guarantee. And wow, so all chiropractors are not created equal, is what I found. Anyway, that's another story. Muscle, gentlemen, you have a lot of muscle. A lot of your body is muscle, and it deteriorates as you get older. You see some 80 and 90-year-old men that are stooped over, that are just, it's hard for them to do anything. It doesn't have to be that way. Getting strong helps everything that we do as men. I want to go into the next half of my life, Lord willing, stronger than ever. I'm convinced that yes, atrophy is a real thing, but we can get out ahead of it, that we don't have to become weak, fragile old men, and that our 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s can be highly productive and even physically productive if we stay strong. And the only way we can do that is to stress the muscles. That's what you do when you strength train, when you lift weights. You break down the muscles and then they rebuild stronger. And that allows you to do more things, whether it's opening pickle jars, moving furniture around, lifting groceries out of the trunk. Whatever we do, our bodies are involved, and the stronger they are, the less injury prone and pain prone that we are, and life is just easier. Going up and down stairs, right? Do those squats and deadlifts, go up and down the stairs. It's not that hard. David Bickerfan says, I did have some back pain when starting kettlebells due to muscles I didn't normally use getting a good workout. Well, yeah, muscle soreness from working out is good. Pain is different, right? Stop stressing those muscles. If you get sharp pain, you need to let it heal up a little bit. But soreness is good. It's what we want. And everything in life is easier, I have found, when you're building strength. How much study have you done on the impact of testosterone? We tend to think of women as being hormonal, right? Well, men are hormonal too. It's amazing how King Jesus has made our bodies. And for the male, the main hormone is testosterone. And if you look at some of the research, I'm just going to sort of make up numbers here. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like that the average testosterone in males who are 40 years old today is lower than 60 and 70-year-old men a generation or so in the past. Now, don't quote me on those numbers, but it's something along those lines. Whatever the numbers are, you get the point, right? That there are, if you went back, say 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there would be men in their 60s and 70s that had higher testosterone levels than men today in their 30s and 40s. And there's a lot of reasons that are given for that. The kind of food we eat has something to do with it, and inactivity and low muscle mass. That's the one thing in most of the studies that I've seen that seems to be consistent is high fat on our bodies and low muscle mass, which nutrition plays into both of those things. And a lot of studies that I've seen indicate that you don't have to go on testosterone replacement or TH kind of things. You can naturally increase your testosterone. And I think I remember this correctly. Now, again, don't quote me, research it yourself, but I think I have read that starting at around age 30, that men today, that our testosterone levels begin to decrease, I want to say 1% a year. Does that sound right? Does anyone know? You might have seen these studies. Anyway, it's pretty significant that around age 30, it starts going down the other way, and that affects everything. Our energy level, our alertness, our what's the word? Our drive to get things done, our sex drive, all the things that we do as men, all the things that make us men, is hampered by low testosterone levels. And I've been persuaded, I think I've experienced this, you can significantly increase your testosterone by becoming lean, becoming strong, getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep regularly, and eating high protein, healthy fat, low carb diet. That's the research that I have found. And I would tell you all those things that I mentioned that testosterone drives, the last few years have been better than certainly the last 10. And there's a correlation here, right? When I hurt my back, then I'm not lifting weights. And it was probably my worst season of life of eating. And then I put on some pounds, some fat. And, I'm in my 40s now, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm just on my way to becoming an old man. I'm aging. That's what they say, midlife crisis, and everything's downhill from here. And man, my good years are in the rearview mirror. And I felt, didn't feel as good. And I had a lot going on. And it wasn't like it was a complete collapse, right? I was very productive and I got a lot of stuff done. But I'll just tell you now at 53, in every aspect of my life, I feel better than I have since my 20s. And it's directly tied, I'm convinced, to getting leaner, getting stronger, getting my sleep in order, and my diet nutrition. Ken says, weight gain with low testosterone. Yep, exactly. Which, again, it's just this bad cycle, isn't it? David the Bickert fan says, I'd also encourage people to find a lifting routine exercise that they enjoy. It will be challenging, though. Yeah, indeed. You got to find one that you got to enjoy. Well, yes, although I will say this. If you see results, that goes a long way to helping you enjoy it. Right? If you're willing to stick to something long enough to see results, that'll help you enjoy it. So I agree with you, but you may not like anything off the bat. So I put a link in the notes, and I'll put this in the podcast as well, to a what's it called? Strong Lifts 5x5. I have used this to get a number of men started. It's simple, it's straightforward. Anybody can do it if you'll commit the time. It takes about an hour a week, 3 20-minute workouts. There's 5 exercises, and they're compound lifts to do the big muscle groups. Anybody, if you I promise you, you have 3 20-minute slots a week. Now, maybe more than that if you have to go somewhere else, right? So if you don't have weights at home, although I think on this website, I think he does have some body weight stuff you can do. I think it's better to use free weights in a gym. But again, figure it out for yourself. Do your own research. But you can find this time. This is not too hard for you. And if you will stick to it for 3 months and get your sleep and your diet in order, and you'll do the strong list 5x5 that I recommend there you will see results, and that will motivate you to keep going. And I've helped a lot of guys do this. And so a couple of keys is you studies indicate, at least, and again, I'm persuaded by this, but you do your own research. The real gain happens when you stress your muscles. Time under tension. So how much time? So go slow form, up and back with your lifts. And it's going to failure or very close to failure is what finally damages the muscle, which then rebuilds. Studies have been shown that if you don't even have to do 3 sets, although that's usually recommended. But if you don't do each of those sets to failure, the first 2 are often just kind of like warm-ups. It's that last one where you really have to stress yourself to get it up. That's where you really do the work. So for each set, you really want to stress yourself and tear down those muscles. Make it really hard to do that last rep. And that's when your muscle breaks down, and then you give it protein and rest, and that's when it rebuilds. So going to failure is important. And then progressive overload, it's called. Especially if you haven't done this before, when you're starting out. Once you spend the time, the first couple of weeks, just working on form, and you're not trying to be a macho man, you're just working on form, because form is everything. Don't hurt yourself. Once you got the form down with light weights, then you should be adding either a rep or increase the weight you're lifting every single week. If you're getting stronger, you can add weight every week for quite a while. You will see results, and you will love it. You'll love what's going on, and you'll feel better. I encourage you. Lukewarm No More says, I spent 28 years in the grocery business, almost 20 of those years on graveyards, late at night, I assume, midnight shift. I averaged 25,000 steps a day. Most of those years worked 2 jobs. My body got broken. Now in 50s, need to start. Absolutely. And I'm telling you, brother, I am telling you, 50 is... start now, and in a year or 2, you will be amazed at that. Well, you'll feel better even before then, but get after it, and you won't regret it. It's not too late. I've helped guys in their 70s get started, and you can build muscle in your 70s and 80s, 90s even. Ken says it will motivate you to stick with it. Absolutely. Lukewarm says, working out again because now I'm at a desk, very little physical work. And that's true of so many of us, isn't it? The other thing is walking. I'm not a big fan of running. The scripture says the wicked run when no one's chasing them. So I want to adhere to that. But walking is great. Now, you're not going to lose fat with cardio. It's really hard to lose fat with cardio. You lose fat in the kitchen. You lose fat by watching what goes in your mouth. But walking is good for your heart, and it's just good to get those steps going. Lukewarm says, I have 0 libido, 0 testosterone. I'm assuming you're married. That affects you and your wife, right? I would be very curious. If you haven't been with us the last several Fridays, go back and listen to the previous ones. But if you were to increase protein, lower your carbs, eat healthy fats. Something I learned recently, healthy fats like eggs and steak, those kinds of fats have a significant impact on our testosterone. How can I say this? I'll try to keep this. It is the fellows, but I know there's some other folks around. Is that going to be too much? I'm just going to say it this way. If you were to increase your healthy fats and up your protein and really reduce your carbs, lift weights, and get your sleep in order, I would imagine you would see results in your libido and other elements of that pretty quickly. I've seen it. Ken says, let's get squatting. Indeed. Ken says, did you just have an earthquake? Are you talking to me? Did my camera shake? I might have kicked the camera stand. I do that sometimes. Ken says you need fat to produce testosterone. Yes, exactly. You realize, did I mention this a few weeks ago? The food pyramid that has driven our nutrition for the last 100 years, it's all based on Seventh-day Adventist ideology. I'm persuaded. Again, do your own research, but I'm persuaded that is true. I eat a lot of fat. I don't eat a lot of carbs. Don't eat a lot of sugar. I eat a lot of protein, a lot of fat. And my testosterone, libido, performance, if you will, it's as good as when I was in my 20s and 30s. And better than in my 40s in the season that I was just talking about. Dale says, and yet the conventional wisdom was no yolks, egg whites only because of, exactly. It's all wrong. There are several studies I've seen on cholesterol. We need cholesterol. That's not the problem. Heart disease. My dad, they diagnosed him and said for decades he was going to die of congestive heart failure. And again, this is just anecdotal here. And he ate all the things you're not supposed to eat. And he lived to be 96. And I've told you before, if he were leaner when he was 96, if he were 75 pounds leaner, I don't know. I think he might still be alive today. God's sovereignty noted, all that. All right. Well, we're going late here. And man, I could go on for this forever because I just, man, when I started this, I enjoyed the initial getting back to working out, kind of reliving my youth and getting back to whatever. And then, it doesn't take too long to just like, this is hard, start skipping it. But I stuck with it. And that day when I woke up and realized my back doesn't hurt, well, that motivated me to keep going. And then getting stronger just as a man, okay, I'm starting to bench a little bit more. My squats are getting better. I like the way it looks in the mirror. My wife starts noticing. Yeah, it's all good. And then less pains in every way and all the other benefits. You won't regret it. And again, this body is the tool that you have. Your body is your tool to do all of the things that you have to do. Give it the right fuel. Keep it in good shape. Make it stronger for the next phase of your life. Again, says your body produces cholesterol and they say it will kill you. Isn't it crazy what they have done to us? All right, we will call it there. If you jump on this, lukewarm, and whoever else jumps on this, if it's new to you, let me know how it goes. I'd be very, very curious how it goes. And again, I'll put the link for the program that I have found that helps guys get started. It's laid out well. It's easy to manage, and it's something that every man can do. You can find a way to make this work, and I think you will not regret it. All right. Have a great weekend. For those of you who are partners and going to join us tomorrow, look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 10:30 Mountain Time. And the rest of you, we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. God bless.